No problem. We do an intro. So, hi, everybody. Welcome. Welcome to the Artist Talk on Art. This is June 8th. I believe it's our ninth Monday open studios. Artist Talk on Art is a 501c3 nonprofit. We put on talks in New York City and have done so for over 45 years. It's very different now, obviously, during this time where you can't gather. Our board has worked hard. We've come up with new ways, and this is how we present our talks. We thank you all for making the effort and the time to be a part of this. We do have something unique today. We have done in these talks, we go around sort of randomly and everybody shares, the artists share about their art. They can walk around, they can bring a work of art in front of their screen, or they can go to screen share, an option on the bottom. So a lot of options. On the other hand, this is quite unique given what's going on with the pandemic, with the protests, with the police, with this sort of equality movement, so many ways to describe it. But I want to I've invited two artists to start this presentation. One is J.C. Rice, and another artist is Ray Mendez. They're both New York City photographers who have shot the streets for a combined 40 years, maybe 50 years. And, you know, they're very much bonded to their cameras. And I'm going to start with JC, and Ray will be joining us shortly. And I'm going to hand it off to you, JC. We're all a little new with this technology. We'll all sort of bear with each other. I'll ask you possibly when JC speaks, you may want to mute yourself because little words you say will trigger Zoom on other people's screens. So thumbs up is usually a good thing. There is a way to type. I'm going to open up the chat and I'll say to everybody, you know, hi. But in that chat function, you can put your email, you can put your website, you can put comments about the work as well and other thoughts. So without further ado, I want to welcome you all to this Artist Talk on Art presentation. I want to thank J.C. Rice for taking the time last minute. J.C., from the Northwest, right? Originally.
Yeah, right. Correct. I'm from Seattle. I moved here from Alaska in 2004. What else? I used to work for Barry at the gallery, Mott Haven, with Carol. And I now am just a photographer, newspaper work. And I used to be an English teacher in Alaska. I don't know what else. I have 2 kids and a partner. They're upstairs Zooming with their grandparents. I live in Riverdale, and yeah. So I don't know. I put together a slideshow. It's like 14 minutes long, and it's just images from basically from just like maybe the day before I think we became aware that there was a pandemic going on. So the first few pictures don't really have anything to do with it, and then it sort of moves chronologically up to yesterday, I think, 2 days ago, the last protest I was at. And it's filled with just sort of the stuff I shoot normally, which is just stuff on the street, people on the street, any sort of absurd shapes people take with their bodies that I might find. I shoot a fair number of skyscrapers too, as they're being put up. And then, so it's like that stuff. And then you'll just see that all of a sudden people are all wearing masks. And it becomes a little more focused on that. And there's a few images from work, some portraits that I did for work, very few. Most of this, in terms of a philosophy of photography, it's mostly about geometry and not staging anything for me, at least for my enjoyment of it and my expression. I have to do a lot of pose stuff for work, you know, posing portraits and things, but there's only a few things in here that are actually orchestrated. Everything else is all just, you know, captured as it happens, as I'm either walking or driving through the city. And I think it's like the last couple of months of images. So I'm not really sure. I'm going to try and just share my screen. And I put the images on like 5 seconds. They're going to rotate every 5 seconds. If someone wants me to stop something, you know, I can certainly, I think I can figure out how to do that. And then I can answer any questions you might have if anything is compelling. But it basically begins with with a light pole, and it ends with a Washington Square Monument protest, Washington Square Park protest. So let me see if I can do this. So I'm pressing share screen, and I'm doing this. Now, do you guys see anything there?
Perfect.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, so I'm just gonna run this thing, and I guess preview will work, and we'll see what happens. The images are big enough to make sense for you guys?
Yes.
Okay, all right. So here we go. That's just a light pole. Oops. Yep. So that's just a light pole. So anything, that's just me looking for now. Okay, so now are these two quickly changing? That's the first one. Is that too fast, Barry?
Black screen. We're not getting an image now.
Yeah,
Black
no.
screen.
Mhm.
Maybe you got to click one at a time or click play.
Well,
Yeah,
this is
go
good.
back, arrow back.
Okay. So do you see an image now?
No, still black screen.
I see an image.
Uh,
It says I'm sharing the screen. It says I'm sharing. Oh God. All right.
Right now you're showing your, this is your Lightroom catalog. So if you have, is it on the Lightroom catalog that is that where your
Yeah.
slideshow is?
Yeah. Yeah.
it's in the top left preview now. It's not populating to the final talk. So try and click on the images and
Well, I am. I mean, I'm seeing I'm seeing the images in a preview. If I click on slideshow, I don't think you'll get it either, I guess. I don't know. Let's see what happens now.
yes,
There we go.
yes,
Do you see an image?
yes, perfect, perfect,
Okay, let me run back.
excellent,
Okay, maybe I'll just do it by hand.
good.
Okay, so yeah, so this is just stuff on the street. I don't know why this is compelling. Just the kids walking to school. That's what they see. Is this clicking too fast, do you think?
Yes, yes.
All right. I do it manually. Okay, let me try something. I'm sorry about this, you guys.
That's okay. It's all part of the new technology. We're all patient.
I got an idea. If I go down here to manual, okay, let's try this. You see an image of a man on a park bench?
Yes, even better. Larger now.
Okay.
Oh, but we got your screen in front. We got your, yeah.
I don't know what that means. What do you see now?
Use that one. Yeah, use that. Use that, JC.
Okay, so now if I click that, does a different image show up?
Yes, perfect. That's manual.
Okay. All right. So anyways, this is just stuff on the street. Again, this is the Bronx, kids walking home from school. And this would be a thing that I would photograph simply because the geometry is interesting and there's a man asleep at the bush behind and the lines of the park bench. But I'll just roll through these slowly. If you have any questions about what's going on here, there's a person underneath that tarp behind this man. This is some of the an example of some of the skyscraper stuff that I shoot. And I could go into a long thing about Kafka, but they do all sort of tie into Kafka.
How so?
Yeah.
I don't know if people have read Kafka, but there's this sort of absurd thing that the world does to people, where you try and get your money from the bank, and you can't get your money if you don't have the form that doesn't have the form, or you can't get health insurance because you don't have the form, and it's just a wall of indifference, I guess. And these things are like a wall of indifference to me. They're just going up, and they're just sort of loaded with a sort of oppressive beauty. They're beautiful, I think. I don't really understand what they do. And they seem to be just sometimes when I'm walking the street, they sort of crowd in on me. And I feel like this is my way to sort of combat them as objects, maybe. I don't really know. But Kafka was always, or K, or the characters in Kafka are always up against a system that is indifferent and absurd, right? They can never get through the door. And these sort of impenetrable mirrors, they're almost all glass now. I don't know. They seem to go there. There's a few more in here. Maybe it'll make some sense. And then, so you go from that, and then you'll see a whole bunch of people that are just crumpled by what's going on in their lives. And I'll just run through it.
It makes a lot of sense, JC. You expressed that well.
So this is actually the first day that I was working. I had to walk down to Penn Station from like a press parking lot up north, and I just sort of started photographing the people on the street. I've been photographing people on the street for many years, but these are the ones that have taken place sort of since the pandemic. I was going down to Penn Station to photograph people not washing their hands for a story, but this is the first day that the pandemic was sort of out there in New York. Again, this is just another of these walls. This is like 4 buildings. I don't know if you can tell. There's one on the right, 2, 3. There's 4 of them. Now, I know it doesn't make sense, but to me, this is like a much more frightening image than anything I can really take. But yeah. And so then there's the run on food. You know, you've all seen these pictures in the paper. This is in the Bronx. People are starting to cover their faces. You'll notice that most of the homeless people, like 90% of them in here or more, don't have anything covering their face. If they do, it's usually kind of hanging off or something. And yeah, again, geometry is really important on the boxes, on the squares and lines and the thirds. That's the first pandemic tent, triage tent in the Bronx, the Jacoby Hospital. So basically, when you would show up there, you get run through. I don't know. Some of you people know this already. You get run through these tents to see if you qualify. These are the first kids I saw wearing masks. And I just like to pose at that girl. She's dancing. She's sort of caught in the mid-dance. He's like, "What are you taking a picture of us for?" The little brother. And this is on 138th in the Bronx. This is what I would consider sort of an absurd street moment. This guy's pose with these ladies taking pictures of the mannequins, trying to get himself in the right position.
Ha 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 ha.
This is in Grand Central, I think, near Grand Central. If you guys are any of your subway riders, I don't know what it's like now, but there was definitely a big drop off there for a while. Who was riding the trains? And this is someone coming up out of Grand Central. And then I think there's just a few pictures of people wearing masks in different ways, in different settings. This is out in Brooklyn, near the beach, Rockaways. This is Chinatown. This guy's actually a photographer. I don't know him, but you can see his camera on. This is probably the first day I noticed that most people that were out and about were sort of covered. Certainly the photographers were that I've encountered. They were some of the first people to really sort of cover themselves up, it seems like. This guy's working on his computer. This is on Wall Street. Bike messenger. I liked her hand a lot in the stretched line. This shape this man's making is a recurring thing. You'll see it in a bunch. I had it limited, but I did include a few. Just the guy taking a picture is why I put this one in, snapping the back of these folks. This was a protest at Jacobi Hospital. They were unable to get masks, even though our president was saying they had all they wanted. These people didn't have any, or they were reusing them. So the nurses had a sort of a walkout for about an hour with signs. People lining up for the bank. This is in the Bronx. That's in one of the triage tents. There's a few color pictures in here. I mostly shoot black. I mostly convert everything to black and white. But once in a while I don't. But yeah, most everything in here is black and white. Just a few that aren't.
You're shooting digital now, and you used to shoot with a Leica straight.
Yeah, no, I still shoot with a Leica, but I shoot digital. Yeah, I have a digital Leica and a couple other Nikons. But yeah, so this is all digital. Everything here is a digital image, or began as, and still is, I guess. This is outside a triage tent. Presbyterian Hospital in Manhattan. Columbia Press.
Would you say the line between reportage and the work you do for the New York Post?
Yeah, mostly. What
would you say the line between reportage in these times and then fine art is a little different, or I mean, has it ever been?
It doesn't feel different to me. It might feel different to some people who look at it. I mean, I don't know what people, it's hard to measure what other people think of things. I don't know. I mean, I don't know. I don't know if it's different or not different. Does the context change it? I don't know. I tend to depersonalize things when I'm shooting, I think, and just look for geometry. Like this image to me, although there is a person here who may or may not be homeless, who's just sitting outside a tent. What's interesting to me beyond him is just the X, the box, the weird lines that converge sort of on the X. And to me, that's very artistic, I guess, in a sense, because it could be a drawing. This figure doesn't have to be anybody in particular. But then context might change that for some people. I don't know. I've been shooting just the same, nothing's really changed for me. I'm shooting more people in, well, when we get to the protest stuff, that may be different than the pandemic stuff, because people are showing up for an intent reason of being seen for the most part, it seems like. Being seen and heard. But it's everything in here to me that's not posed, Barry. Every image in here it would be reportage, and whether it has any artistic merit is, I mean, that's a toss-up, I guess if someone wants to show it in a gallery. Cell phone.
Yeah. Well, you can hear me.
Yeah.
Spam call.
And there's my kid's feet. One of my children's feet. Brushing his teeth. This is up in Monsey. These people, when they closed all the synagogues, people were on Saturday morning came out on the street. I thought that was a cool day. Again, just New York City architecture. This is on the steps of the museum, the Met. This one was for Ray. Is Ray here?
Yeah.
This one, I put this in for you. The skate parks are all closed.
They are.
Yeah, so this was in Van Cortlandt, like underneath an overpass. Some guy working on his stuff alone in the rain.
That's
But
beautiful.
I put that in there because I knew you were going to be here.
I just love your pictures. I do.
Thank you.
The lines on the sidewalk are great, leading into the hand.
Yes, yeah, thanks.
Yeah.
See, even in that last one, you've got architecture in the background with the X and your horizontal lines as well.
Yeah.
It's interesting. Obviously, you see it in the building work, but it's showing up, and it contrasts with the people. You know, are they caged in? Is
Yeah.
that the Kafka thing? Is that like a metal, shoelace around them or something?
They're just loving each other, Barry. That's all they're doing.
Okay.
Now this was funny because this is like as a street photographer, this is sort of the reaction you get. One person flipping you off and the other person giving you the thumbs up. I just think this was a funny photograph. It doesn't really carry much weight. But that's sort of the daily grind for the photographer. Is the person going to be angry with you, or are they going to think it's a good idea? So they're waiting in line during the pandemic. You have to wait outside the stores until there's a certain occupancy met. This was a thing I worked on with an artist up here in Yonkers, Michael Cuomo. He's a painter and a sculptor primarily, but he also paints. And this is his a character that I followed him around for an afternoon as he wore his space helmet and went shopping and sort of just bothered people some people were bothered. Just sort of interacted as if everything was normal. And he's got on so I just included a few of the pictures I took of him wandering through shopping for vegetables.
What lens are you using for those last few shots?
That's a wide angle. That's like a 17 to 35. These are all done with that. That's a 50. So Soltron is the character, and he was trying to put something together. So I just shot it for him. It's in Harlem.
That's one of the lines to get in the supermarket, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I passed so many of those. I thought that was like just so strange watching people like just lined up down the block.
Right. There's a few of them in here. This one is different, I think, in some ways because of the weird white silhouettes. I mean,
Totally.
crazy. This image now these are the refrigeration trailers for the dead folks. And that's the psychiatric hospital on Randall's Island behind it. And so there were hundreds of these trailers. They all came up from like Oklahoma and Arkansas, getting ready to get parked at hospitals to take care of the dead. This is all Harlem. On 25th Street.
Like by Lexington?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is Lexington. This is a little bit west.
Yeah.
And this would be Lexington. Yeah, it's rough down there right now. People are hurting. This is a pretty common scene for those of you not in New York, I guess. It has been for the last couple months. And, person covered and getting taken away by senior care. I think that's her daughter following. This lady is on Staten Island. She provides beds for homeless people during the pandemic because it was very difficult for a lot of people to find places to stay. She was sort of indiscriminate. She let anybody in, take care of everybody. She's amazing. Those are the cots. Target. That's a Target. This, this is absurd, of course, the thing going on there on the left. But what also is interesting is this is Times Square, like midday. There's no one around. This is maybe a month ago or so.
And you caught the other guy looking away.
Yeah, I know. Bizarre. Totally bizarre. That's in my neighborhood, Riverdale. This is the first pose shot. I think the next two are. These are like for work assignments. This is up in on Arthur Avenue. Shops that were still open. And what's interesting, I can't remember. This is a salami and cheese shop, but he's selling. I can't really tell maybe what's going on below there, but those are all boxes of masks and gloves that he's selling as well. So he's surrounded by salami and gloves. This would be Bronx drive-in testing. This is the guy you got to get through to meet this guy. State Patrol. Hey, buddy. This is another pose shot for us for a story on an EMT in the Bronx. This is Randall's Island. Again, midday on a weekend, no one around, just one lady running. On a normal day, a normal weekend at 2 o'clock, there'll be hundreds of people on the island. So just one jogger.
But the arches almost make it look like a cathedral in a way.
Yeah, yeah. Indeed. This is like 113th or something in Harlem, Lexington. Yeah, just a wire. I've been shooting a lot of wires. This is the only one I included. Just a random shot of something very, I think, sort of lyrical. Delicate wires and shadows. I got a whole series on these things too, but it didn't really apply. But it just fell in order. So, and then this is Queens. I just like the message. I left it in color because it's a cool kind of seafoam teal. I don't know if anybody knows. Ray, you might know who's doing this. Do you know the artist for these?
Looks like Revs, but I doubt it could be Revs. It's like the same like line style a little bit. I could find out.
I'd like to know. There's a bunch of it around. I'm assuming it's all the same person because the font's very similar, but some billboards too. This is basically underneath this sign. This scene. These three in a row were all shot the same day, and it's just three people, again, just sort of crumpled over. Harlem, 125th Street. Coney Island Boardwalk. School safety. After schools closed, the safety officer started handing out masks. So she's just making her way down the boardwalk handing out masks. Penn Station.
Is that an Amish guy?
Yeah, I think so.
Pennsylvania Dutch in Penn Station. That's pretty funny.
There you go. Thank you, Carol. That's why you're important.
That's why I'm here.
Yeah, exactly. That'd be a good title for it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's a little spot not far away with Pennsylvania Dutch Bakery and Hell's Kitchen area-ish. So I'm not surprised to see that image.
I just like the three people, lined up, and the guy right in the middle. He's give me the stink eye if you can zoom in on it. Yeah, man with iguana. This was at a back to work rally out on Staten Island. And what I thought was, there's a few here from that. These guys are all pretty heavy Trump supporters, as her shirt will show. But they're doing the Pledge of Allegiance. And I just thought it was hilarious when I went up to photograph her. She was doing the Pledge of Allegiance, that she put her hand down to let me see Trump, so I had full effect of what was going on. But she'd probably get very angry with people not doing the full pledge, but she did give it up for Donald. So these people are all were calling. This is maybe 3 weeks ago or so, a lot of deniers about the whole thing and whatnot. They're praying before the opening of the rally. It's a motorcycle group. This guy's cheering. And he's one of the orchestrators of the rally. These guys were skywriting, and I just thought it was interesting that there was just the one little line. They hadn't gotten to the next word yet.
But you caught it in the middle.
Yeah.
Of course.
My friend Matt said when he saw these, he said, it looks like they didn't have much to say, which I thought was cute. This is a new building. Still got the stickers on the windows downtown. I think it's on the east side. I can't remember. This is, what's her name? This is 8th Avenue. Again, this is midday, so you get some idea that there's just not a lot of traffic. That's the High Line, Simone Lee. Brick House is the name of the sculpture. So again, normally this time of day, there'd be traffic. You wouldn't be able to see the street, there'd be so many cars. And I was out in Brooklyn for a day shooting a different story, but I got some free time to capture some of the weirdness that was going on.
Wow.
Yeah. Also in Brooklyn. Sometimes people just give you stuff. You don't even know why. Like, why are they standing perfectly in this box? I don't know. And there was a funeral for a well-respected rabbi. There were hundreds of people on the street and a lot of cops, I guess, because something happened a couple of days before. So there was a lot of tension because people weren't wearing masks before. But for the most part, the people were wearing masks when I was there. But yeah, so these are people watching the casket go by. And I left this one in color just cause. Yeah. So back to Manhattan.
The metal from the leg.
Yeah.
Next to the metal from the car.
Yeah, and the posts.
And the post, yeah.
And the Sharpie. There's a lot of things going straight down or sort of down.
The Sharpie and the other line on the dress. Bring us up to some of the protests.
Yeah, we're almost there. Okay, so yeah, it's almost over.
That's a great shot.
Yeah, that's sort of and then here's my son. He broke his arm. Okay, so this is last week, the start of it. This is the first protest I went to. It was very peaceful. This is Foley Square. If you're not familiar with Manhattan, it's sort of down where all the centers of justice are, on the Lower East Side. So there was 3 or 4 rallies going on that night. This one started out, like I said, very peaceful. But then the cops eventually were like, "You guys have to move," because they were blocking traffic, even though there were no vehicles really rolling at that time. And then it got a little bit crazy. What's interesting is when they get these people on the ground, you have to almost lay down to get an angle because they surround them with their bodies. So to see what's going on, you really have to get on the ground, crawl between people's legs. It's pretty crazy. This guy said to me, "You're too close." And this is a couple days later in Union Square, which was a pretty big march that went over the West Side Highway and sort of shut down traffic. I didn't see any arrests this day. These 2 fellows, though, the pointing I thought was interesting. So I just sort of watched these 2 guys come together and start screaming at each other. So there's this guy in the audience kind of yelling at these 2 guys who were speaking. And it sort of just devolves into they're just right in each other's face, you know. And look at all the people, you know, just like me behind there shooting.
It's one thing to be a society that sits back and doesn't see what is going on, or a society where you sit back and you just watch. But sometimes we're a society where we just want to take the video
Oh yeah.
and post it. We don't care what's going on.
There's so much shooting at the rallies, video shooting, you know, and people, it's funny you get such a mixed, you know, some people actually come up to you and say, you can't show our faces. And then, you know, that every third person has got a camera going. But I guess there's some software out there now that is going to allow you to blur people's faces en masse from photographs. The only reason I threw this in there was because the hobby horse there I thought was cute.
Casey, can I ask you about that?
Yeah.
So sorry, I got Mr. Softy outside my window.
Is that right?
I don't know if it's making you guys hungry, but it sure is making me hungry. The showing people's faces, etc. Like Michael Camber from the Bronx Documentary Center posted an article that I saw circulating about that, and that's kind of interesting, right? Like, just because you know the you know the factors of that, or like people are worried about like you know their images using for nefarious purposes and to track them down and all kinds of stuff.
Yeah, to come and get them for sure.
Yeah, exactly.
So I don't know. I mean, I don't know that I have any kind of opinion other than I just keep shooting.
Yeah.
You know, and the stuff that I post from these events doesn't go to, it goes to Instagram. I mean, that's about it. I'm not selling them to media. But I don't know. I mean, I don't know.
They're in a public space. You don't have to shoot them if they're in a public space.
You can certainly shoot them legally. There's not a legal argument, but there's sort of more of a moral argument that I think is new now. You know, where people are like, I don't want to be photographed at this protest because I'm afraid that they're going to come get me. You know,
right. That's really, just to be clear with the question that I asked, is that people are afraid of retribution, really, and that's to me a little bit of a scary prospect, right? Like
it is if that is happening, but it's also like I keep using the word absurd, but it's absurd to expect that when there's like 40,000 people at a protest and 30,000 of them are shooting video. Like, how do you get out of that? You got to change the culture completely, I guess, and tell no one to bring phones. I don't know. I certainly don't. It's not worth it to engage people and say, oh, you know, if someone doesn't want me to shoot them, I don't shoot them. I mean, I'll just walk off. It's not worth it at this point. I've gotten too tired or too old to argue with people about it. So I don't really care because there's enough interesting things going on. It seems like, but I understand the fear, you know. I don't know a way around it though at this point. You know, it's so in my blood to do this. I don't know
Yeah.
I don't know how not to go to these things and just take pictures. I just
Can I ask you about that?
Yeah.
Jamie? Do you feel like any differently, you know, covering these sorts of instances now than you have in the past? Do you feel any differently?
it's the first time it's come up really, you know, in the last week. So I'm certainly thinking about it. I don't know that I mean, I guess my question would be if I could talk to someone who really felt that fear that an image I took of them was going to lead to their arrest. I would like to sort of explore that, you know, sort of beyond what might be paranoia or might be legitimate fear. Like, is there a precedent for this, or is it just, you know?
But do you, as a photographer, as someone that's capturing them and consequently putting it out there, do you feel any sort of way about that? And I ask because I've recently experienced that myself. Like I've had friends of mine saying like, "Wow, you're really brave."
Oh, I see.
You
I
know?
don't know. I mean, God, I hate our president so much right now. This whole stuff is making me crazy. I'm not afraid, really. No, I think. Is that what you're asking? I'm not really sure what you're asking.
Yeah. That is
No,
it.
I mean, I don't know. Since I started working in the media, cops have been have attempted to instigate stuff with me since the get-go. You know, from the first time I've been at a scene, the cops will try to instigate. They'll get violent with you, and I'm just saying very minorly. They'll push you out of the way. They'll lie to you, tell you can't take pictures, whatnot, push you, cover your camera, do all that. That hasn't changed, you know, but maybe they've gotten a little more aggressive. I mean, a bunch of people I've worked with have been sort of manhandled by cops. I've never been beaten up or anything. 3 photographers I know got pretty well hammered and had their stuff stolen by people looting. You know, they're shooting the looting in Brooklyn and in Manhattan last week, and that's probably well, I don't know. There's a lot of things to be afraid of. There's a lot of adrenaline involved too. So when it gets crazy, you just kind of try to stay limber and malleable and pushable so you don't get broken. You know, I don't know if that makes any sense. Try and stay low and keep the camera going.
JC, do you want to show a few more images and then we'll thank you.
Let me get out of here. This guy, there's just a mural was just painted. There's 4 more windows of the things in the mural when this guy walked by. So there's 3 other ones being painted when this guy came by. This is out in front of.
Really ask people if you can photograph them.
Not at something like this.
Okay.
Not at a protest. I mean, I generally no, because and that's just sort of a philosophical thing. For me, because like I said, nothing in here. Well, there's maybe 4 or 5 pictures that are posed, but as soon as you ask someone, it's over. It's not for me. It doesn't even become interesting anymore because you're not getting anything. I don't want to say not real, but you're getting a conscious effort on their part to appear a certain way, and my sort of the thrill for me is gone at that point. So I don't. If people get uptight with me and they're willing to talk to me about it, you know, I won't do anything with the picture. But if you ask, you'll never get the images, you know?
True.
This is a guy who'd been looted. His liquor store was looted. This is on Grand Concourse.
And JC, you weren't worried about being in large crowds of people when
Yeah.
the world was being told to socially distance?
Yeah, I've been worried about that probably most of all, I think, just because I got kids and stuff.
Yeah.
And a partner.
Mhm.
So I was, you know, you just, I don't know. I guess you just gotta hope. I got tested for antibodies. I'm supposed to find out today.
Oh, I hope. Fingers crossed.
Yeah, right. So this is the lady Ray knows, I guess, right? This is the lady
Yeah, she's a bronzite Fior.
So like this, in this instance, like I don't think she would care because she's like taking a stance and you know, cops are across the street. She's cursing at them. There's no, you know, it's sort of a war with her. Right behind her is a wall of police officers. Pretty stunning looking person though. She is.
I'm going to recap, JC. Is that cool?
Yeah,
And we'll
I'm
move
done.
on to Ray. I do want to say, that issue of being able to take an image and someone being fearful that that image will then get them in trouble, that's at the heart of our freedoms. The people are going to be fearful of that if you can't take an image. And that reads like something out of Animal Farm or something we don't want to be a part of. I do want to thank you for sharing so much. Again, this is Artist Talk on Art for everybody here. This is quite a unique open Monday studio. We've started with JC Wright with a very detailed presentation on what he's been capturing. He's a street photographer, and that was a great presentation. And your detail and your images were great to see. I want to move on to Ray Mendez. Ray is a Bronx street photographer, musician, has been involved with many different things and many different movements in the Bronx and also things around the globe. Quite a mover, a shaker, a good friend. We've done some good things together in the past. I want to welcome Ray to the ATOA and our talk. And I do want to say to everybody, this is all free. If you'd like to donate, go to our website. Information is there, and you can support us. But we're glad to present. I want to thank Ray beforehand. Ray, you can access screen share, go with what you like. We'll work out any glitches. And the other artists, thank you for bearing with us. This is obviously a much longer and different presentation. We'll get to you. We'll each do little short presentations afterwards. So Ray, I'll hand it to you. Welcome.
Thanks, guys. Thanks, Barry, and thank you, JC. That was amazing, man. I love his photos, guys.
Thank you.
It's just really, really something else. I'm not nearly as much as a prolific photographer as JC, so mostly I'm a filmmaker. But I made a little keynote just to show you guys. So for those of you guys who don't know me, I'm Ray Mendez. I'm, as you could probably tell from this picture, very proud Bronx native. And I'm glad to see, Carol in here. And JC, you're still in the Bronx, huh?
Yeah. Riverdale, but I'm still in the Bronx.
And Barry. And so a lot of Bronxites here. And I see my good old friend Kelly Farrow. You're a Harlemite, Kelly, but you get Bronx cred. So anyway, guys, so I am a kid born and raised in the Bronx. At an early age, I did this for a living. I was a professional skater for a long time. I still skate. Not nearly as good as that. I wish I did. But, as a kid from the inner city, I found a vehicle for me to firstly, explore athleticism and sport, but that led me to becoming a photographer, traveling the world, and really finding my voice. So these are a few quick skate photos for me. So I started as an athlete first. I started as a skater, but the nice thing about these sports, and it was nice that JC had a skate photo in there, is that these activities are very akin to the arts. To be quite frank, as a skater, if we didn't produce content like film and video, we really didn't get paid. So that was the way that I had to learn quickly how to capture these images and the stuff that I was doing. Cool thing about these photos is that it's from one of my best friends who was an amazing photographer back then, has now moved on to become an amazing emergency room surgeon, Taku Taira, and he actually delivered my son. For those of you guys that know Taku Taira. So Taku took these photos and he also handed me my boy, which is pretty amazing. This is an art crowd, so I figured
Are these of you? Is this
all of me. Everybody asked me that, JC. I should have prefaced it with that, but I figured those are all pictures of me, guys. Yeah. So these are all my skate photos from back in the day. The last photo, I thought it was cool because this is an art crowd. So these are some, this is a sculpture, Richard Serra sculpture that's outside of the Gagosian. And because I used to live outside, down the block from the Gagosian years ago, And so one night we were out there, and I just want to share this with you because I think it's a cool art story. One night we were out there skating that, and the security guard kicked us out. The next night we came to take these pictures, and the security guard came out again, and we thought we were going to get busted. And I was like, oh shit, you're going to get busted. Security guard came out and said, no, the artist said it was okay if you skate, you skate it. So we got a pass from Richard Serra to skate his sculpture. So if any of you guys know him, or when I meet him, I'm going to give him a big high five, because that was just really, really, really cool. Speaking of artists, there's a really cool artist guy that I know. This guy's pretty awesome. One of my favorite people, Mr. Barry Kostrinsky. But so I just wanted to show a little bit of stuff to you guys. So, you know, being a skater, I had a very good fortune to be able to travel the world a lot. That's where I get most of my my sensibilities and my knowledge. As like a person that's traveled the world a lot, like this whole last several months to me has been a very interesting time in my life as an adult. I'm a total map freak. That's why I'm showing you guys this map, like a map geekazoid, right? But so, and maybe I'm showing off a little bit, but this is, so I have like a Google map thing, right? And my Google map thing, it tells me where I've been and all that kind of stuff. So 91 cities, I've 15 different countries and regions. In the US, 117 cities alone. So I like to travel. I really do, for work and for all that stuff. But so that's the breakdown, you know, about 14, 15 countries, 191 cities. You know where I've been in the last 3 months? Here. This is where I've been. I've been between my house and the studio that's 122nd Street. And when I saw that, it really struck me, right? Like it really, really struck me. That's as far as I've gone.
Wow.
And that's the first time in my life that I've ever experienced that kind of thing. And so it really sort of resonated with me. To be honest, early on, I was trying to figure out what the hell am I going to do with my business? I got to pivot because we work in schools with kids. And I was like, oh, my business is shot. Like, I'm done. Like, what am I doing? So I spent a lot of time introspectively just sort of figuring out what to do. And I wasn't really sure of what I was going to do. This photo is a photo of my son, right? Devin, and you guys know him.
Yeah.
He's a lot bigger now, JC.
Yeah, he is.
Huge. He's like taller than me. And so this photo, guys, might seem like something that's commonplace right now. But this photo was taken on December 27th of 2019, way before people in the US, or way before people certainly in the Bronx. This is down the street on 138th Street by Carroll. Way before we knew what COVID-19 was. Devin's really into Japanimation, as you can tell by his sweatshirt. He's really into Japanese culture. He's actually teaching himself Japanese, which at 13 years old, I don't know how you do that. But so the mask thing was really like interesting to me, the whole mask thing. And this is a setup of why I'm telling you guys all that, right? I was like, oh, the mask thing, you know, Japanese culture, Devin's really into it. Okay, cool. And so this is us like being really silly, you know, Devin being silly on the subway. Again, this is in December, guys. This is before the outbreak in the US, right? So we're the only people on the train wearing masks. People are looking at us like we're crazy. That's my mom in the corner. If you think you know where Devin gets his silliness from, is definitely from my mom. So I started taking photographs of people in my neighborhood and just recording what I saw. And what I saw was this, right? And so I did a whole photo series and portrait series of people wearing masks. And because for me, like, it was something that I'd been thinking about for months. And I want to give you guys a little bit of a backstory with that. So in Asian culture, in particular in Japanese culture, obviously they've used these masks for like pollution, privacy, anonymity. It's pretty interesting because some cases, like, it's so that people don't have to smile or engage. One author I read described it as social surrender and purposeful disenfranchisement, which I thought was like, whoa. And, you know, basically a lack of self-esteem. Brad, obviously, in this picture doesn't have a lack of self-esteem. And these are all my friends. And to be honest, this is all like either on my corner or on my studio corner. Like, this is all stuff that I just saw on a day-to-day basis. But with going back to the Japanese bit, you know, the mask in Japanese culture have been around for over 85 years. They've called them germ masks, right? And it struck me because it's so commonplace today, but it's been around in their culture, you know, because I've been to Japan and I've skated there and I've shot there. There's like news articles from 1934 in the Miami News that document all this sort of stuff. So, you know, I just thought it was like a really interesting thing that 85 years later, like we're, you know, now in the midst of all this stuff, right? And it just really struck me. And some people told me that it was like kind of morbid or just whatever, but it was just what I saw, right? Like it was everyday people that are in my life. These are all my friends. These are all my friends, by the way. These are all people that are very, very close to me. I've been totally freaked out about the whole pandemic thing. This is across the street from my house. This lady's not wearing a mask because she was too cool. She just wanted to take it off for the picture. But she just looked like a badass Bronx woman, so I had to shoot her. And these are my neighbors. And it just struck me like, you know, what is it being a young person? I have a 13-year-old son, and you guys have kids. What is it like being a child now? And I work with kids, so that like really, really resonated to me. Like every morning, kids are waking up and they're hearing like, oh, you know, 90,000 people died, 100,000 people died. Like, what does that do to you as a child when you go to get a fucking Mr. Softy and you're wearing masks and your parents are wearing masks and you're Mr. Softy guy, and the irony of that the Mr. Softy truck pulled up outside my window right as we started talking. So yeah, so this is 2020, guys. This is how you get your Mr. Softy, is gloves on, a mask, and so do you and your parents, you know. It's a to say the least, a very strange time that we're living in. Not to be all doom and gloom, but this is what I've seen, right? This is in my neighborhood. This photo is a photo that I took of a woman that had overdosed in the street. And Carol, you'll recognize that. It's right behind St. Jerome's. I mean, all you guys, Barry and JC and Carol, will recognize that. So this is a woman walking her child down the road with a woman who had just recently overdosed on the side of the road there. This moment for me, like, I really like described this whole moment as the big quiet, right? Because I don't know if you guys have experienced that, but for me, it was like the big quiet, where it was just like very quiet and very still. And it's been like, for me, a very intense retrospective time. And I see Beth there. Hey, Beth. But the crazy thing about it is that the big quiet has been immediately followed by the gigantic roar, right?
Yeah.
So we've gone through a period of time where it's like been incredibly quiet, and then there's been a huge uprising and a roar and a civil unrest in our culture and our society, not only locally but globally, right? And this is again, this is like hyper local. Like people use that like this is outside of my bedroom window, right? Mm-hmm. So like I'm not going more than like 2 or 3 blocks to shoot any of these photos. And it's interesting the crowd that's in here, because it's just like, you guys have been my neighbors for a long time too, and you guys know these places, right? And so you know, it's just I mean, to put it mildly, the time this year is just something else, and I know everybody feels that. just to continue on this. So this is literally right down the street from Carol's house. Carol's house is probably in the back where that green tree is back there, down on 136th Street. And it, I have to tell you, is one of the more disturbing things that I've seen. I've covered a lot of, like, as a documentary filmmaker, mostly, I've covered a lot of, like, unrest and a lot of unruly things. And, you know, I've got arrested and thrown in jail everywhere from Mexico to Germany to you name it, South America, Puerto Rico, everywhere. But what I saw on 136th Street in my neighborhood was really, really disturbing. So we just got off of this curfew, right? But this moment, and I watched it all unfold, the police trapped these people before 8 p.m., before the curfew, right? They trapped them. They set up this guard, which, as a native New Yorker, I've never seen this, like, bike police squad. They're like, they look like something out of RoboCop or something like that. So they cut them off. They cornered them from the bottom. It's on a hill. They cornered them from the back. They waited until 8 p.m. to then start arresting everyone, which I thought was incredibly unfair. Over 100 people. So there are people there from the houses that you know, started to try to come to their aid and freak out. And this is a local resident there in front of the cops. And it was a very, like, ominous presence. I know that there's been a lot of that stuff documented in terms of, like, police brutality and all that stuff. I myself, as a kid that grew up in the Bronx, I have been a victim of that, but not just in New York and not just in the Bronx, like in other countries. And I understand what that is, and having experienced it firsthand, right? And so, you know, these are just some pictures just from that day. And I think the next thing is a video. And, you know, as a filmmaker, I did want to show that to you guys. I hope nobody gets really upset by this, because we've seen clips of these moments where they're highlight reels, right? There's like a highlight reel where you see, you know, oh, a 10-second clip of something. But I thought it was really important to show this clip that I shot on the same day in these very same moments. And you can see the cops blocking here, both from the top, and if you look to the back, from the back as well. So there are well over 100 people here that they quite literally had trapped. And they tactfully cut off the head, meaning that they cut the march or the rally or the protest or whatever the hell you want to call it. They took the organizers out. So the organizers are actually on the side where I was, and the crowd was on that side. And then what happened was this. So, stand by. One of the rally organizers was calling out to her people, and you can see her there. And then you see who's actually the gentleman that comes up is the chief, the New York Department of the chief of police, right? He's a 4-star, very high-ranking official within the New York City Police Department. You guys can hear that?
Yeah. He took her megaphone.
So there she is, hiding. And you know, I'm just showing you these guys because this is just what I saw. And then what I thought, so the first thing that was disturbing, and I think showing the raw clip and watching this whole thing unfold is really informative because you see the whole, like, process. So he comes over, he basically just says, "That's you, you're gone." And then the disturbing thing for me was they sent the officer of color in to do the dirty work and arrest her. So there's a bunch of that, but you know, ninja moves, throw. Oh shit, I messed up my thing. Sorry. Those are the nice pictures. It's not all doom and gloom, right? But they arrest her. I don't think that was there was really cause for that. I think the whole thing, to be honest, was fucked up. Wasn't cool. But you know, there is a brighter day, right? So it's not all doom and gloom. There's, you know, some amazing things happening. That's the really great thing. And you guys know from living here, Beth and JC and Barry and Carol, like we live in a kind of a little magical place, right, in the Bronx. And I think that's, you know, we're very lucky to have that. This is a family that lives on my street. This is actually the Upbeat NYC folks. They teach my son music, which is amazing. And they're the one daughter and then her friend, the two little skater girls, which of course is close to my heart because they're little badass skater girls on my block. And they're just rad. So, you know, there's some magical things that are happening too, right? This is one of my head skate coaches and his wife. So there's some really great things that are happening in our community as well. These are my neighbors. They live right behind me. I can throw a stone and hit their building, which reminds me I have to go water their plants after this. And so, you know, there's cool shit happening. This is my stoop. That's my skater gang. I got the whole crew out skating, which is really nice. And this is a really beautiful mom and son that I passed. I've been going to Randall's Island a lot. It was good to see JC's photos from Randall's Island. That's been like my reprieve and my refuge. I'm just going there every day. And this is also a shot from Randall's Island, just a sunset that I caught the other night. But yeah, so there's good news too, guys. So thank you guys for that. You know, it was just really nice to share that stuff. And this is all stuff that's either happened in the last week or the last several weeks, right here in the good old South Bronx. So thank you guys for that.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Thank you, Ray. That was beautiful. I think both Ray and JC, you presented what you see, what's in front of you. And that's a common theme that's been going on at these talks where artists are engaging, whether it's nature, violence, mass, terror, all these other themes. But, you know, you both brought a lot to make this very current and very real. I do want to say Ray is also one of these, somebody who has brought stars from the NHL to the South Bronx, and they've done skating programs with the kids in the South Bronx, and has always been involved with many different things. The little area of the South Bronx, the Mott Haven side, if you know the area, it's around 138th, 3rd Avenue, Willis Avenue Bridge. Wallworks has a gallery there. There's a little arts area there. Thanks, Ray. That was insightful. And you know, you guys are showing us your local lives. Ray, sometimes out your window 2 weeks away. It's very personal. It's something we all need to see. It is disturbing. It's hard to process all this. And the artists, they sort of present it. They're vessels maybe that convey it. They commune the idea. Maybe they translate, or maybe you're piecing together a piece of the puzzle. And we're all sort of trying, and it's almost impossible. We have a pandemic. We have the police, the brutality. We have everything coming together. The unemployment, the poverty, is too much going on almost for us to take in the culture now. I want to move around to some artists real quickly. This will be a great exercise in doing the elevator speech. That sort of short summation, show a work or two, and we'll move around quickly to keep it short. Again, this is a special version, and thanks so much, Ray and JC. They're old friends, but they're also, I respect them both as artists. Ray, there's a certain coloration to your work that shows that photo with the one person who had just had an overdose and the other person walking by, shows your coloration great. You both seem to capture different things going on in your photographs that they don't contradict, but they do an interesting polarity. And thanks for sharing. And nice to see you guys.
Absolutely. Thank you, Barry.
Yeah.
Robin Halpern, would you like to share first? Ooh,
You're muted.
I'll unmute her.
Yeah, hi. I'm a fly on the wall. I was here last week, but I didn't have my video on. It's nice to meet you all. It seems like a really fascinating forum, and I'm happy to be a part of it when I can. I'm not ready to share too much at this point, but hopefully at some point I will be. But I'm glad to be here and see what everyone else is doing, and it's been very interesting so far.
Thank you, Robin. Where are you?
I am I'm actually in the Catskills. I live in Manhattan, but I left my apartment in mid-March, and I've been living up here in what's really a weekend home ever since. And that's it. I feel fortunate to have a place to go, but I miss my home.
That's fine.
And everything that's going on has just been so disturbing.
Thank you. Maybe another time you'll share your works. I'm
Yeah.
going to ask Kelly. Kelly, would you like to share your art with us and talk? I'll ask you to unmute.
Actually, I don't have any art to share. I was just coming to support the artists and support Ray.
Thank you very much. Where are you, in the South Bronx, Kelly?
I'm in Harlem.
Oh, in Harlem. Cool. Thank you. Gerald Rosen's iPad. Let me unmute you. One sec. Ask to unmute. One sec. I've got to. You need to unmute yourself. Let's see. All right, we're going to come back. She's got to unmute herself.
Okay, here I am.
There you are. Very good.
Yeah. Okay, well, I'm in my studio, and since I was unprepared the other time she called on me, I'm a little more prepared. So I had done this piece. I'm on my iPad. So let's see if you can see this. Okay.
And by the way, if you want, you can pin her video. If you go inside her little box, if you're using gallery view, in the top right, hit the 3 dots, and you can pin her video, and it'll be large on your screen.
Oh, nice.
Okay. I had done this drawing. I think Mitch saw it. It has the virus in it on the lower left-hand side.
Mm-hmm.
I had just finished doing a portrait, and it was very detailed, and I needed something very free. So I just put some paper up on the wall, and I did this drawing. Initially just the lines, and then I wrote onto it. But this area here reminded me of an ironing board. So I went downstairs and I got my ironing board, and I did this whole series.
Nice.
All right. So again, I can't see, but you can see where I did the ironing board, and I collaged the iron on it. And these were my initial drawings. I don't know. Can you?
This is perfect. You're doing a great job.
Okay. That's still there. I don't know why. And then these two were the iron I did today. One is in watercolor and one is in pencil.
I like the focus, but after a drink or two, it makes me want to recommend you take the ironing board and you iron some of the works and see where you go. Of course, that may not be where you want to go.
Oh no, definitely not.
No.
But I am in my studio, and since we do artists in the studio, I don't know. That's pretty much it, I think, for today.
Awesome.
Very nice.
Okay. I feel very fortunate because I don't know if you could see outside. It's out my window of the city. My studio, we live in an old newspaper building, and I'm on the top floor. And it's like being in a area, a bird's nest. It's a nice space to work.
Very nice. Thank you. Thank you for sharing, Charles. Any questions anybody like to ask or thoughts on her work?
Carol?
I actually don't have a question except what do you think drew you to the iron and the ironing
Human
board?
to the iron. I don't think anybody's ever really, I've never seen anybody draw an ironing board or an iron. And what I liked about the iron was it was sort of sexy, actually. It's sort of like the shape. It almost looks like a rocket ship, you know, going off into the atmosphere. And I try to capture that. And I like to work in different mediums. So I did it in the pencil and then and the watercolor, sort of freer.
Elaine, I don't think anybody knows your name.
No, my real name is Elaine Forrest. This is my husband's iPad, and his name is Gerald Rosen. That's why it says Gerald.
Are you a fan of Robert, is it Gober?
Robert Guber. I don't know if he did, I know he did wallpaper and he had people going into the walls. I don't know his work all day.
Yeah,
What made you say that, Barry?
He did the sinks and some objects. So he's taken objects like you're doing, and he's put a surreal tone on them. He had that show at MoMA, no?
Right, he did. I had just seen some of his work recently because I remember he had like a body going into the wall, right? Yeah.
Yep, that's him.
Yeah. I like doing objects. I try to take the object and sort of illuminate it, give it a soul.
I like
So
that.
that would be a natural for me. Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Elaine. Sorry for calling you Gerald.
Gerald. I don't mind.
I like that. Illuminate the object. Give it a soul. I think even in JC's photography, where you point out the Kafka side, and it's harsh, there's something about it. I think the artist's eye is the soul we give to our work, our vision, maybe our work in it. When we get down with the camera and get low, when you paint an iron, when you paint your iron, the way you work where the edges meet. It's very important. The little darks you put in there. And sort of that work in there is your effort. I think that goes into the work and it comes out to the viewer. To share next, Regina, would you like to share? Regina Silvers?
I guess so. Okay, I'll share my screen. I'll see. I was working on something, so it's on my desktop, and I will share my screen.
Where are you from? Where are you now?
Oh, well, I'm sheltering at home in Gramercy, and my studio is in Tribeca. And I have not been there for 3 months. So now, I'm sorry, I don't.
Let's see if I can help.
Well, I thought I shared my screen, but this doesn't look like I don't see I don't see my files or what I had open.
Take your time. Take your time.
Well, I don't know. I thought I had it before. Let me just see. This. Oh, I have to hit share. Okay.
That's it.
I see Zoom.
That's it. Now we have your Zoom. So we have what's on your screen.
You do?
Yes, we see the Zoom screen and your web browser.
Yeah, but I don't see it.
That's okay. Now you're getting us to. I'm seeing everything on your screen on your computer. So you want to sort of hit yellow button on a lot of these things so they go away. That's it. And the next one, the Open Studios, yellow button it.
I don't find this. Okay.
That's it. And the next one, probably yellow. And there you've got a lot of things you can probably hit.
Well, what I could do is I could just very quickly open up something from Safari.
Exactly.
And I can open up the Artist Circle. I just put work up on the New York Artist Circle website. So I'll pull that up.
How long have you been a member of that group?
Was Artist Circle? I've been a member 20 years.
Very nice.
Since about 2000 when they were meeting down in Tribeca. All right, so this is my All right, so this is the page I have where my portfolios are on here. And the way this website works, we have artist portfolios, and then these are different portfolios. If I can find, this is one album in the portfolio. This was
Yeah,
from,
click on the individual ones so they go larger.
do you see them? This was,
Yeah.
this was, these were all views that were started as small sketches from my balcony, and then I made larger paintings from them. So these are the paintings. I had a beautiful corner view, so that was looking towards the Empire State Building. This was looking straight up Third Avenue, which is really empty now.
That's great.
Very nice.
This is,
Very nice piece.
this is the series. I would get up every morning and go out on my little balcony. You know, this says 8:30 a.m. That was looking up Third Avenue. So this series is Third Avenue, 7:30 on June 9th, 2016. So this was, I moved from that balcony. Unfortunately, I moved from that apartment, and I could figure out how to do this. I'd like to get to a different album. No. Sorry. Not work. I can't move. Oh, view more albums. Okay. So what I've recently put up is an album called All That Jazz, because one of the things that I really like to do is to draw. And from the drawings, as I said, I make paintings. It's all the different things in my life that I'm interested in. So this is, this takes a little while. This is a study that I did. It's actually the last piece of work I did, which is unfinished. And it was the last piece of work I was able to do in my studio before this was mid-March. It's the Harlem Jazz Band. They were playing at a jam session with the Jazz Foundation, which is where I went every week. And I had done this series. These are done there while they're playing. You know, so they're really very quick watercolor and pen and ink drawings from my sketchbooks. That's Billy Kay. He's probably sheltering at home too, because he's in his 80s. And these are the horn player. That's a woman named Kay Morey, who is she sings to the jazz. People take turns to go up and play or sing, and they have a backup group of 2 or 3 musicians that would back them up. This guy always played solo guitar. He didn't play with anybody. And this was during Christmas.
Regina, who would you say is some of the artists you enjoy, whether historical or contemporary?
Well, let's see. This century, I think I like Diebenkorn. Yeah, Diebenkorn's probably one of my favorites. But of course, I love people like Toulouse-Lautrec and Van Gogh.
Great line. You have a very good, quick hand.
Thank you. These are the things that I did, from them. The sax player, the horn player, take the A train, and this one I just posted actually. This is the same Ray Morey, the singer. I did a pastel. That's also one of the last things I did. I don't even remember what size it was. And this is Alex Lane, and I said R.I.P. because shortly after I did this, I found out that he died. I guess it was in March of the virus, of the coronavirus. So that's that album. And then if I can find what I really do mostly, how do I get, down here, humor. I really spent a lot of time on protest paintings and drawings. And they mostly derive from my involvement with a group called the Granny Peace Brigade, who I came when they first got started, because a friend of mine was part of an original group of older women who got arrested because they tried to enlist at the recruitment station in 42nd Street, so that the children and grandchildren wouldn't have to go into war, the war in Iraq. So these were the grannies. And Um, this is not opening up, is it? Well, let's see. Yeah, this is, they're celebrating July 4th by reading the Constitution, which they did every year. And this man in the center here is Norman Siegel, who was the ACLU lawyer that got them acquitted when they were arrested and held trial. This is taken from a rally that I went to. The people in the center over here are two grannies who are getting ridden by this bicycle. And they're part of a big, big rally that was protesting our possibility of using drones on Iran. Drones, you know.
Regina, can I open it up to questions if anybody would like to ask you, and I'll take it off sharing at this time?
Sure.
Let's see.
Yeah. So these are all the grannies. And I've been, as I said, I've been involved with them, and I'll do it quickly. They also participate in other group things. Like this was part of the Women's March. And,
were these from photographs, or were you sketching stuff while you were there, or?
The grannies, I couldn't sketch stuff while I was there because I was holding a banner.
Yeah.
You know, I was helping them. So most of the grannies, I took a lot of photographs with one hand while I held the banner with the other. And then I would look at 6 or 7 of the photographs and put together something that represented it, that was close, but it wasn't copied from any one particular picture. Does that explain? I use a projector.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. Yep.
I use a projector, and I project on one wall, and I'll draw on another wall. So I'm looking over, and instead of having to look at small photographs, I'm just looking at something where I can see it from far away.
Nice.
So that works for me. It doesn't work to work over the pictures, you know, to try to paint over, to try to use that and copy over. It just doesn't never work. This is really a lot better. So I'm working freehand, but I'm looking at like this image.
Regina, where and when did you start drawing?
Well, I tell you, when I graduated from college, I was, and I started teaching art. And then I went and I got my master's in art education. And after that, I had gone to Queens College. After that, I decided I had to learn how to draw. This was after I had my master's degree. So I went to the Art Students League, and I was married at the time. And at some point, I took a leave from teaching, and I just went to the Art Students League, and I took life drawing. And it was terrific. I learned how to draw by drawing and a little instruction, you know. But so that was, you know, when was that? God, in the 60s? Yeah, that was in the 60s.
Can I ask a question, Barry?
Pardon?
Can I ask a question? Regina, the jazz drawings, that was all while you were there? That was all?
The small drawings, yeah. The big color ones I do in the studio afterwards, but all the small ones are done. I have hundreds of notebooks at this point, you know.
But the jazz drawings are all done while you were there?
Absolutely.
Right, not from photographs.
I don't touch them up. I don't paint on them afterwards.
Yeah, they're great. They're really beautiful. I love your drawings. They're great.
Start my video. It says the host has asked me to start my video.
Oh, my mistake. I wanted to unpin your video. Can you stop the screen sharing? So
Yes.
we'll.
Okay.
Regina, very nice presentation. That really was, and it certainly tied in there so nicely. And I think that's what we're seeing. Artists, you know, we're like sponges. We absorb what's happening around us, and we sort of give it back. Whether it's a photographer with a lens or a painter who draws. And I know in the past, Stephen Hirsch has mentioned, you know, he's doing what he's feeling and what he's seeing. I want to sort of end tonight. I know some people didn't get to share, but I feel we went our hour and a half. We did something unique. We're doing this every Monday. I want to thank you all for participating. Again, this is Artists Talk on Art. We're a 501(c)(3). Everything is free. Enjoy it. Go to our website if you want to contribute. You'll see something there. I want to thank the board members that were here, like Mitch Pilnick. Roberta was here earlier. There are other board members. do a lot behind the scenes. And of course, Sophia Raccia, our intern out of Oregon, who does so much and helps us so much. And of course, JC and Ray. I mean, that really set a tone, and there's a level of attention and consciousness that you brought to these talks, and I thank you both.
Thanks, Ray, for showing your stuff too. Thanks, Barry.
Yeah, Ray was great. Both of you guys.
Thank you. Hey, and I have some drafts. We have Beth Wood over here from the Bronx, who is an amazing painter. And Beth, I'm totally setting you up. You have to show some stuff next time. She's great. And I see Kevin Dowling from Atlanta and my buddy Philip, who's an amazing filmmaker. So you guys are all officially drafted to show some stuff going forward.
And definitely, my apologies. Definitely come next Monday, if not the following. It's the same Zoom link. Check our website. We want to show you. We like this sharing, and we are about artists coming together and talking. Thank you, everybody. Really, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Barry.
Carol.
Mm.
Hey, Ray.
You guys.